Maryland has a family support resource center, and we help families of kids with disabilities and developmental delays get through the special education system, or if you need help with community resources or anything, you could give me a call or send me an email. Again, if you could please type in the chat box your name and the age of your child, that would be very helpful for me to send in my information for the grant so that we keep getting money. Today we have Talisa Smith here to talk about token economies. She is from Chicago. She came to Calvert County Public Schools about 4 months ago. She's been in the field of ABA for about 4.5 years and has a master's degree in the field of applied behavioral analysis. She has trained paraprofessionals to deliver top-rate ABA services. She has agreed to do a series of workshops for us, and we are happy and excited to have her here. Welcome, Talisa.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm actually very happy and honored to have the opportunity to speak with you guys. Admitting one more person, and then we'll just go ahead and get started. So today's topic of discussion is token economies. If at any point you have any questions throughout the training, please feel free to type them in the chat or raise your hand or say something to me. I am a Midwest girl, and I have recently learned that I do speak quickly. So in the event that I am speaking too fast for you, please let me know so I can slow down. I want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to absorb as much information as possible from this training. Okie doke, let's go ahead and get started. So after completing this training, we should be able to describe a token economy, create a token economy for structured and on-the-go settings, as well as address the criteria for rewards obtained by using a token economy. When talking about a token economy, I think it's very important to list all the different benefits of using one with your child. Some of them is that your child is aware of what's required of them. By implementing a token economy in your household or on the go, wherever it is you decide to implement it, it lets the child know what your expectation is for them. So if you are out on the go and it's a Saturday morning and you're running your errands and you want the child to understand that we have to go to 3 stores before we get to go to Walmart to pick out a toy. So then you would set that criteria. Okay, you get a star for every store we go in and you behave appropriately. And then you get access to your reinforcer of going to buy a toy. The reward is clear for all parties. Oftentimes I see individuals implement something for a child and the child won't grasp or won't complete the tasks that are being presented to them, specifically because what they're working towards is not motivating for them. So with having a token economy in place and allowing the child to make choices, you'll know for sure exactly what it is that they want as their motivator. It provides some structure for both the child and the family because you can implement a token economy for everything from completing household chores, from taking care of the daily living things such as brushing your teeth, dressing yourself, brushing your hair. You can use it for completing schoolwork, for signing in on time. It sets up structure in the home for the child and the rest of the family members because it removes any guesswork from what the child should be doing. It's kind of like keeping them on a schedule, but the schedule provides them with rewards. It could decrease how much the child questions you, how long before they get a break, especially if you have it set where after you do X amount of work, then you can take a break. It eliminates them having to come to you and ask often like, can I take a break yet? Am I done yet? How much work do I have to do? It's already set from the beginning that if you do 15 math problems, then you can have a 15-minute break. It reminds the child that doing work is temporary. It shows them that there is an end in sight. It also can set clear boundaries for appropriate behavior, especially when you're using your token economy on the go. And it can assist with enforcing some of those house rules that you have in place for your children. Token economies are so simple as far as setting them up because there are only three parts to them. The first part is the board, and it's the system you use to track the progress of your child. It can be a sheet of paper, it could be you writing on your hand, it can be you putting stickers on your child's hand, it can be using something in your phone. Whatever it is that you use to keep track of how much progress is being made or how much more is needed to be done to reach your reward, that will be considered to be your board. Then we have our tokens, and these are those immediate rewards for giving the child for meeting criteria. So if you're using a sheet of paper, every star you give them would be considered to be a reward. If you're using a sticker system, every sticker you give them would be a reward for meeting the criteria. So for every time they reach the criteria of, if you make your bed, you get a token. Okay, you made your bed, you get a token. If you brush your teeth, you get a token. If you put your shoes on, you get a token. Every time you give them those immediate tokens for completing a task, those will be used to cash in for your backup reinforcer. And your backup reinforcer is the thing that your child is working for. The cookie, the 10 minutes of the video game, being able to play a game on your phone on the ride home from the store, them being able to go see a friend or something of another. Whatever it is that they cash the tokens in for, that would be your backup reinforcer. So again, your board is used to track the progress. The tokens are those immediate things they get access to, and the backup reinforcers are what they cash in the tokens to get their reinforcer. When thinking about it in terms of an adult with work, your board, your system tracking your progress would kind of be like whatever it is you use to clock in and out of work if you have an hourly position. Your rewards for meeting the criteria, so your tokens would be the timestamps saying that you completed X amount of hours and this amount of hours and this amount of hours, and then you get access to the money. Your backup reinforcer will be all of the things you get to purchase with the money that you earned by completing all those tasks of working for X amount of hours. There are tons of types of token economies that you can use with your child. It's all about what's best practice for you and your child. If you have something where you're going to do it in the home, you can create something more stable where you can use pencil and paper, or you can laminate a sheet of paper and use a dry erase marker. I've seen lots of people use 10 frames that they typically use in like kindergarten and first grade for math. I've seen people use those to keep track of the child's progress, where you have those 10 boxes, and then in each box, the child fills in with a token, a star, a smiley face. I've had people draw dogs, people write words, whatever the case may be. You fill in that piece of paper until they reach the criteria to gain access to the backup reinforcer. You can also use stickers. I have godchildren and they love stickers. So when I'm trying to get them to do homework when they're with me, I give them a sticker for every couple of questions. And once you get 5 stickers, then you can walk away from homework and take a 5-minute brain break. But you have to come back to get your next set of stickers. This coin in the cup system is really good when you have multiple children that you have token economy set up for, because what the coin in a cup does is it removes a lot of effort from you. You can simply have the coins in a baggie, and every time someone reaches a set criteria, you give them a coin. And then once they reach a certain amount of coinage, they can cash that in for whatever reinforcer is that you have set for them. I've seen some families do it where they have like a grocery list of things that you can cash your coins in for. So if you reach 15 coins, then you can turn that in for this. If you have 7 coins, you can turn that in for this. Kind of like the Chuck E. Cheese system with the tickets, but you're using coins instead. And then the other 2 options that you have are electronic options. And again, these are not the end all be all. These are just some very simple options that you have. You could use your phone. Most smartphones now come with an app for taking notes. And I have found that using the Notes app is so efficient when I'm out on the go trying to use a token economy. So if you use the Notes app in your phone, all you have to do is go to the Notes app, open it up, and then set up the criteria for your child. You want to put however many boxes that they need to have filled up in order to gain access to that reinforcement. Or you can actually download an app. I have an iOS system with iPhone, and I found a couple of free apps within the iTunes Apple Store And some of them are pretty difficult. They have all of these different things that you can use, but you have to purchase all the different versions, all the different additives, all of that you have to purchase separately. But if you use the free app, you get access to a token economy for 5 tokens. So what I'm going to do now is show you guys a video, hopefully it works, of how to set up your app and then how to set up for your notes app on your phone. Someone let me know, can you see this? Can you see that it changed over to a black screen?
Yes, it's working.
Oh, awesome. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So the good thing with that option is that it gives you the opportunity to add tokens, to remove tokens, and if the child engages in behavior where you feel like a token needs to be taken away, and you set that criteria yourself, it's simply just you taking it away. It gives you up to 5 spaces, and for each time the child reaches criteria, you will just tap one of the bubbles and it'll fill in the star. And once they have reached that maximum criteria, you would then give them access to their big reinforcer. What I like about that app is that it also provided you with the opportunity to select what it is that the child is working for so that they're aware of what they're working for. Because remember, it's important that they have buy-in, because if they don't have that buy-in in place, then they're less likely to complete whatever it is that you're asking of them. The next video is about the token boards on the go on your phone with the Notes app. So with using the Notes app on your phone, it gives you access to customize how you want to present things to your child. So you can have them do 12 things, you can have them do 4 things, you can have them do 13 different things. It's all about what works best for you and the child. And again, just like the other one, the app, if you wanted to, you could absolutely take things away. It's just depending on how you have your token economy set up. So now that we've talked about the parts of a token economy and the different types of token economies you can use, I want to go over the different steps for creating a token economy. The different steps when you are using this system with your child are the preference assessment, the teach exchange response. You want to discuss the rules with your child, set the criteria, and adjust the criteria after the child successfully gains backup reinforcers. When you are in the preference assessment step of the process, you want to make sure that you are asking the child what it is that they want to work for. It's really important that the child is working for something that they want, because if not, they won't be motivated to complete whatever task you're putting in front of them. So if you just assume that because they liked ice cream 2 days ago, they might want ice cream again, but they don't necessarily want the ice cream because at this point they've had it a couple of times, so they're satiated or they've had enough of it, then you run into the issue of the child not completing whatever task it is you set in front of them. But by taking a couple of minutes before you implement the token economy to figure out what it is that the child wants to work for, it was very beneficial for you in the long run. The next step in the process is the exchange response. This may be the most important step with implementing a token economy with your child. This is when you will teach the child how the token economy operates. They learn that for completing a task, you gain access to a token. After you gain tokens, then you can use the tokens to get your backup reinforcer. It's really important that you take the time to explain and work through this with your child, because if they never understand the exchange response system, then they'll never fully grasp the concept of the token economy. What I typically like to do when I am implementing a token economy to someone for the first time is I like to do a ratio of 1-to-1. What I do is start out with some very simple things that I know that this individual can do, and I have them do that thing, and from them doing it, they gain access to a token, and then they cash in the token and immediately get access to their reinforcer. When you're doing this, of course, you don't want to do something super big, like you can have an ice cream sandwich when I'm first introducing this to you. You want to maybe cut the ice cream sandwich into small pieces. Or if you have an individual who loves tickles, maybe you give them a couple of tickles as a reinforcer. Or if they love Play-Doh, maybe you give them 30 seconds with the Play-Doh. When you're doing this exchange response step, you want to make sure that when you're first implementing it, you do it at a ratio of 1-to-1-to-1. So you get one task, clap your hands. Amazing job clapping your hands. Here's your token. Can I have your token, please? Nice. Tickle, tickle, tickle. Because what that does is it teaches the child the sequence and the pattern for everything I do, I get this, and then I get that. The next step in the process is to break down the rules. You want to explain the requirements for the token economy. Will they lose tokens gained for unwanted behavior? Will they have a time limit set to gain those tokens? Are they allowed to save tokens to cash in for another day? Who can give and take the tokens? How long will the current criteria be in place? All of these things are so important to get to explain to your child, to explain to your child when you are implementing this system. You want to make sure that if you are going to take tokens away, that you don't just surprise them with that. You want to have that conversation before you implement it, explaining that you will get tokens for doing X, Y, and Z, but tokens will also be removed for doing A, B, and C. That's a conversation that you want to have prior to implementing that. You don't want to surprise them and take a token away when that was never discussed with them. Will they have a time limit to gain a token? For some situations, you might want to put a time limit on it. You don't want to tell a child, okay, if you make your bed, you can have a token, but you didn't specify that you want them to make the bed in the morning or before they leave the room for the day. Things like that, you want to put a time limit on. Or will you get a token for completing your 10 math problems? Absolutely, but I'm only going to give you 20 minutes to complete your math problems, as opposed to just telling them to complete the math problems and they don't do it until Saturday, but it was due on Thursday. So you want to be specific about certain things that have a time limit on them so that the child understands that these things need to be done by this time. Are they allowed to save tokens to cash in for another day? This is a really important question. This is something that you have to figure out that if you want to do with your child. If you are going to allow them to save tokens to cash in for another day, most likely you're going to have a system set up where they have multiple different things that they can cash the tokens in for. Or you're going to have a larger buyout, but a smaller gap for when they get the tokens. So if this is something that you will do with someone who understands the token economy and who has been doing it for some time, you wouldn't start out with a newbie allowing them to save tokens to cash in, because typically with your newbie, you want them to gain access to reinforcement quicker so that they decide to buy into the token economy system. So if you are going to allow the individual to save tokens to cash in for another day, then you want to set a time limit on that as well. Like, okay, you can save tokens for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, you can come to the backup reinforcer store, get whatever you want access to, and then we'll start over. You want to make sure that you decide who's allowed to give and take away tokens, especially since a lot of our children are at home with their siblings, with us still having a stay-at-home order and with parents still having to go into work. You want to be specific about who can actually give and take away tokens. Yes, you want your child to still follow the rules even when you aren't in the home. But the last thing you want to do is have the sister be in charge of giving and taking away tokens, and she's abusing the system. So you want to make sure that you decide who can give and take tokens, and that the person who is also working with you to give and take away tokens understands the importance of following the system through. And then you want to make sure that everyone understands how long the current criteria will be in place. When you are doing a token economy system, in order to fade away from having to give tokens as frequently as you should be in the beginning, the criteria has to change. So if in the beginning, I'm only requiring you to do one thing to get one token to get access to their reinforcement, after you successfully gain access to reinforcement, I'm going to change it to 3 things for 1 token to gain access to that reinforcement. So now you have to complete 3 things to get that 1 token. So then I'm going to say, okay, every 3 things you do, you get 1 token, but you can't get reinforcement now until you get 3 tokens. So I'm changing the criteria gradually so that they have a larger gap in between when they get access to reinforcement, so that it's going to vary, and because it will loosen the strap a little bit. Whereas before, when you're first implementing it, it's going to be on a very consistent schedule. I want to kind of vary that schedule. I don't want you to just be expecting that you get reinforcement for every single thing you do. Which brings us to setting the criteria. When you are first implementing the token economy, you want to decide how much is required from your child to get tokens and to get rewards. So you want to have criteria set for getting tokens as well as criteria set for getting the rewards. So that's just like in the example I mentioned before. So if you have to do 3 things to get your token, that's fine. But now you also need to have 3 tokens to get access to your reward. So that's 9 things you need to do before you gain access to the reward. Again, you want to change the criteria once the child has successfully met that goal multiple times. I typically do about 2 to 3 weeks with criteria being the same. And if I see that the client or the student is not reaching the criteria, I'll go back and evaluate. If I see that I have it set where they have to do 3 things to get 1 token and 3 tokens to get that 1 backup reinforcer, and they're not getting access to that backup reinforcer multiple times throughout the week, then I'll go back and adjust the criteria. So maybe I need to change it so that you only have to do 2 things to get access to 1 token, but you still have to have 3 tokens to gain access to that reinforcer. So it went from having to do 9 things to being 6 things. So you want to adjust your criteria based upon what your child can do. And you know better than anyone else because they're your children. You know when they're working to their full capacity or when they're slacking off. But by adjusting that criteria appropriately to what your child is actually capable of doing, you provide them with the best opportunity to gain access to that reinforcement. With adjusting the criteria, you want to make sure that you do your preference assessments again. You want to make sure that what your child is motivated by today is actually a motivator. You don't want to just continue on with the same motivator over and over again, because what happens is the client becomes satiated. And what satiation means that, at this point, I've had so much of it that it's not really worth much to me. Offering someone a cookie when they just had a slice of cake typically isn't as motivating as it would be if I've only had broccoli and carrots for the day, because at this point, I've already had my fix. I've already had some cake. So, I mean, your cookie is nice, but I don't need it. So I'm not motivated by that. But offering me the opportunity to go outside and ride my bike when I've been in the house all day for 3 days straight, that probably will motivate me to get something done. You want to adjust that criteria and use your preference assessments to create the best system possible for your child. And that's all I have for you today. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. Well, if no one has any questions, I put the link in the chat box again for you to fill out a 2-question survey. The survey will just let me know what topics you're interested in seeing for our next training. We're going to do these monthly, with Thursday and Friday being the days that we provide the trainings for you guys. I hope this was beneficial for you all and that you took something away from this, and hopefully it helps you with building structure in your homes with your children. Thank you so much for participating, guys.
Talisa, thank you so much for having this opportunity for us.
It's been